For decades, India had a problem it was too embarrassed to talk about. Every year, millions of containers carrying Indian goods left Indian ports and traveled to a foreign country to be sorted, transferred, and sent on their way. Not because India wanted this, because India had no choice. The ports were too shallow, the infrastructure was too old. The world's largest container ships simply could not dock in India. So they docked in Colombo instead, in Singapore, in Dubai, in Klang. And India paid for all of it. Every fee paid to Colombo's stevedores, every charge levied by Singapore's terminals, revenue that left India and never came back. The total annual loss, $220 million, every single year, for decades. On May 2, 2025, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated Vizhinjam International Seaport, India's first deepwater transshipment port. He declared that India's trade would no longer depend on foreign infrastructure. What makes this project extraordinary is not just what it does for India's economy. It is what it took to build it, and what it means for everyone else in the Indian Ocean. When a container ship travels from Shanghai to Hamburg, it doesn't stop at every port. It stops at massive hub ports, transshipment hubs, where cargo transfers from giant mother vessels onto smaller feeder ships for final delivery. Think of it like an airport hub. Most passengers don't fly direct. They connect through Frankfurt, Dubai, or Singapore. The Indian Ocean's primary transshipment hub for decades was Colombo, Sri Lanka, 135 nautical miles off India's southern coast, handling approximately 70% of all India-bound transshipment cargo. For India, 1.4 billion people, the world's fifth largest economy, this was a humiliation dressed up as logistics. Every container routed through Colombo meant fees paid to a Sri Lankan port, delays added to Indian supply chains, and dependence on a foreign government's infrastructure for India's own trade. The reason India couldn't fix it was geology. India's coastline is mostly shallow. The continental shelf extends far out to sea before reaching depths suitable for ultra-large vessels. Building a deepwater port requires either expensive dredging or finding one of the rare natural deepwater locations on the coast. For most of India's coastline, that location doesn't exist. Vizhinjam is the exception. Located 20 kilometers south of Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, Vizhinjam sits where the continental shelf drops away unusually close to shore. Natural water depth here reaches 20 meters, deep enough for the world's largest ships, just 500 meters from the coastline. But natural depth alone doesn't make a port. The challenge was protecting it. The Arabian Sea is not gentle. Monsoon swells regularly reach 6 to 8 meters. A port exposed to those conditions cannot operate year-round, and no shipping line routes vessels through a port that closes during monsoon season. The solution was a breakwater. Vizhinjam stretches 3.1 kilometers into the sea, eventually extending to 4.5 kilometers. Built using 2,000 Acropode 2 armor units, interlocking concrete blocks designed to absorb wave energy up to 9 meters, with foundations laid on rocky seabed 15 meters deep. Construction began in December 2015. It was supposed to finish in 2019, then 2021, then 2024. The breakwater alone took 8 years, surviving 3 monsoon seasons that partially damaged completed sections requiring repairs before work could continue. When Phase 1 finally opened in December 2024, 5 years behind schedule, it had cost $1.06 billion. India's tallest ship-to-shore crane stood at the quayside, 74 meters high, capable of unloading containers from vessels 24 rows wide. On June 9, 2025, the MSC Irina docked at Vizhinjam. The MSC Irina is the largest container ship on Earth, capable of carrying 24,346 containers in a single voyage. It is 399 meters long. It requires a draft of over 16 meters fully loaded. Before Vizhinjam opened, the MSC Irina had never called at a port on the Asian subcontinent's coastline. Not once. The largest cargo vessel humans have ever built sailed past India's 7,500 kilometers of coastline like the country didn't exist. Because for the world's biggest shipping lines, India didn't exist, not as a destination for the ships that mattered. The MSC Arena docked at Vizhinjam and then came back again. By August 2025, 8 months after Phase 1 opened, 448 ships had docked, handling 9.77 lakh containers, generating over 450 crore rupees in revenue. The port was running at over 100% of installed capacity. Adani Port's MD Karan Adani said within 1 year, all of India's transshipment cargo would be handled from Vizhinjam. Colombo, which built its entire business model on being the hub India didn't have, was now watching its biggest customer build its own alternative 135 nautical miles away. But Vizhinjam is not just about money. It is about who controls the Indian Ocean. Colombo Port City, the massive Chinese-funded development next to Colombo's existing port, gave China a commercial foothold on the island sitting directly off India's southern tip. The Hambantota port, leased to a Chinese state company on a 99-year deal after Sri Lanka couldn't repay its loans, gave China a physical presence on the Indian Ocean's most critical shipping lane. And here is the nightmare India quietly lived with. In 2021, Sri Lanka's economy collapsed completely. Foreign reserves ran out. The government defaulted. In that moment of total vulnerability, China, Sri Lanka's largest bilateral creditor, held enormous leverage. It could have demanded operational control of Colombo's transshipment terminals as part of any debt restructuring. India's trade, 70% of its transshipment cargo, would have passed through a Chinese-run port on Chinese terms, 135 nautical miles from Indian shores. That scenario did not happen, but it came far closer than most Indians knew. Vizhinjam closed that door. The Indian government approved Phase 2 and Phase 3 in March 2025, weeks before Phase 1 was even inaugurated. Phase 2 extends the container berth from 800 to 2,000 meters. By 2028, total capacity reaches 3 million TEUs, 3 times current size. India is also building a second deepwater port at Vadhavan in Maharashtra and a mega transshipment port on Great Nicobar Island, positioned directly at the entrance to the Malacca Strait, where 40% of global trade passes every day. India is not just building a port. India is building a port network designed to ensure no foreign power can use India's own trade as leverage. None of this means India's port problem is fully solved. Vizhinjam is one port. Colombo still handles millions of Indian containers. Rail connectivity to the port's hinterland is incomplete. Delays and logistics gaps remain. But for the first time in decades, India is not just reacting to its geography. It is rewriting it. 10 nautical miles from the shipping channel connecting Europe, the Persian Gulf, and the Far East, on a coastline where the seafloor drops naturally to 20 meters, India has finally built what it needed for decades. The $220 million that left India every year is not leaving anymore. The world's largest ships, vessels that couldn't dock in India a year ago, are now routing through Kerala. China built a string of ports around India. India just built a port in the middle of that string.